Good evening all, welcome back to another Commodore 64 video. We're not going to be doing any coding today. This time we're going to be talking about this wonderful little chip right here, known as the SID chip. Absolutely fantastic chip. The reason I'm making this video is because in the next chapter of our book, which is right here, sorry I got a few things. What's this? Yeah, we'll be making we'll be doing sound and music next, and for that we are doing interfacing with the SID chip. Now before we do that, I want to go through why the SID chip is so well known, why it's so loved even today, and why a lot of people still use it as an instrument in their bands like Machine Supremacy and Luke Hash. Still use these things in their music. I'm not talking about remixes, I'm talking about proper music. Now, first, the SID, in my opinion, is not a chip tune, a sound chip per se. It is more of a sound synthesizer than an actual chip compared to what the NES or the Master Systems and stuff like that at the time. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain what's going on here. So, let's let me bamboo around the wrong way. So I'm gaggy-handed in case you don't know. Okay, so let's go over to our good old buddy the GIMP. So let's show you what the NES at the time had. Now all these sound chips, all these things had what's called voices or channels. The SID chip had 3. The NES had 5. Now you may think, oh, the NES must be better, must produce more sounds. That's not true. So we got, whoop, that's a bit big, way too big. So like that, that'll do. So let's go like whoop, whoop. Channel 1. Whoop, did back to front. Channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, voice 5, sorry. So on the NES, this is NES or Nintendo Entertainment System or slash Famicom, as in family computer. Now on this machine, the first and second voices can only produce a certain sound wave, which is pulse, which is just square, like that. The third voice can only produce triangle, so sounds can only go like that, but the sound waves up, down, like that. The fourth can only produce noise. Why thinking why is that important? If you do it at in quick intervals and really quick things, you can make a pretty nice drum beat. And the fifth channel is for PCM samples, so sampled sounds and music. So I don't know how to draw it, but anyway, the SID chip, it only had 3 voices. 4 if you're clever. Okay. Now here's what really makes the SID chip really stand out, is that all these voices can produce either a pulse, a triangle, sawtooth, excuse me, sine wave, and noise, and PCM sampling at the end there, but it was always usually too expensive. So all 3 of these channels can produce all these wavelengths in their own way. Now what also happens in the SID chip compared to, say, the NES or Super Nintendo or the Master System, is that these, since it's a synthesizer, it also has loop rings and filters and really things to really distort the wave. So if you can picture a square wave like that, sorry, like that. Now let's choose a different color. Let's go say with say a green color. That'll do. So what you can do with filtering like ring filters and stuff like that is you can go ring oscillators and you go like that, and you can make a sound wave like that. Goes like that. Or you could do it in various other ways. You could put a little top on it so you can go like this, so it makes it almost a cross between a pulse and a sawtooth. There's various other filters and distortions you can do on each channel individually. These are all individual channels. Each of them can be done really individually. And so basically it is a 4-3 channel or 3 voice synthesizer, compared to these things which do make boopy boopies noises. This could actually produce really good music and really good sounds. And that's kind of hard to visualize right here why that is. But I'll demonstrate it in a second. This has led to the SID chip having more of a warmth to it, more not so computery noisy to it, not so much of a abrupt sounds, not so much as stuff like that. Oops, sorry. It's more of a more smoothie noise. Now to actually demonstrate this, I'm going to show you some visualizations here. Thank you to Roland Roland Back. I'll link to his channel down below. He has a full channel full of these FM synthesizer visualizations of these chips. And another special thanks to Highway Guy, who also did this. I'm going to compare, and we're going to talk about the differences between these two things. So just give me a stick. Okay. So, see mine. Okay, here we go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play some music here. It is Durantel's Robocop 3. Now the reason I chose this is because there's a NES visualization of it and a SID chip visualization of it. They are both sound the same. They both sound similar, I should say. They have both the same music, the same rhythms, the same everything. So it's easy to compare the two. They were both done at the same time by the same person for the same game. They are both Robocop 3. So I'm going to shut up and we'll play the NES version first. And yes, I am doing this in Blender for the time being. There's a good reason for this, and I'll show you why soon. So let's play. I'll just pause that there for a second. So that was the NES version. As you can see, even from this very simple frame here, there's very little in the ways of distortion. So let's have a look. I'm sorry. Want this to be a reddish color. Thank you. So you can see like oops, I'll hold out D. Yeah. No, that's not what I want. Where is it? Yeah. Okay, cool. No, that's editing of the stroke. What's the draw command again? God damn it. Oh, here we are. Stroke, which is here. Oh, there we go. So you can see here that's only it's only square wave, but it's only all stepped and all this nonsense. And you can see up here, up in this area here, there's not much distortion on these waves. So it's basically straight up sawtooth, straight up pulse waves. There's not much. There's a little bit here. You can see a little bit, but not a lot. And of course you can see just lots of noise down there. So if I go like this and go, yeah, there's a lot of noise down here. So you see there's only 4 voices being used because, as I said over in the GIMP, sorry, let's go back to the GIMP for a tick. As I said over here, this 5th voice is only PCM sample, so it's only of voices and actual instruments, samples like that. You can hear it a lot in, it's not very used that often, but you can hear it in games like Super Mario Bros. 3 with the steel drum. That was actually a PCM sample done here, which is really cool. So, as you can see, there's not a lot to actually see up in here. What is that? So, yeah, oh yeah, it's just going boop, but okay. This is mainly because of the triggering on the actual stuff, so that's that. As you can see, this suddenly changes here. So, let's move on to our next one over here. And just clear that. Okay, this is the same song, but this is through the SID chip. Oh, sorry. Bring me back. Sorry. This is through, oh, hang on, I'll go back and show what I was talking about before. You can see here, like, there's one of these frames I had. It was just changing from this to a very wide one. And, yeah, I was just saying, like, there's some triggering things you can see where things are not quite right. Like that. That's what I was looking at. Something like that. Alright, so this next one. This is the same song by Gerontel for the same game, but this one is through the SID chip. Enjoy. Alright, let's pause it there for a tick, alright? Oh, what a perfect place to pause it. So as you can see, or as you could probably hear, that was phenomenally better than the NES version. That is awesome. Absolutely. The thing is, I forgot to mention before, both of these chips are what's called FM synthesis chips, or frequency modulation chips. And because of that, I just remembered saying that. I actually remember what I was saying before, like loopback devices. It's actually called ring modulation, which you can see right in here. You can see it's going. The beauty of the SID chip, though, is the complete independence of each channel. As you can see, we've got noise there, and we've got noise here. So it's fading from one channel to the other, but this one's changing very quickly into a sawtooth. So it's going or triangle there, and you can see here got some frequency modulation on this pulse waves up here. So you can see each and every channel voice is very much independent. So look at this modulation here, which is absolutely really cool to see. Is this. You can see it's gone from noise here to frequency modulation there. So very quickly can change things so quickly on the SID chip that it actually really sounds like there's more instruments than there actually is. It sounds like there's more voices than there actually is. And as I mentioned before, there is 4 channels if you're clever. Like there's a bug in the 6502 processor that if you ping a certain memory address, it will make a noise, a tapping noise. That can be captured and that can be used as a 4th channel. And yes, the SID chip does have samples, and it can be done sampling, like the legendary Impossible Mission opening. It's like, what is it? Oh yeah, another visitor. Stay a while, stay forever. It's actually really cool. And same with Myth, this history in the making. Starts off going, this lady appears and says, "Welcome to Myth," and it sounds really, really good. And Durantel here, who made this music, if you find his visualization of Turbo Outrun, you can see a lot of the channels are actually using samples, which is really cool. So let's have a look a bit more in this. Because it's so easy to change the frequency so quickly, and it's just far more snappy and just sounds a lot nicer than the actual SID chip. You can see here the volume and the pitch is going way up, woof, like there. And you've got a lot of noise down here, and got a little bit of rhythm going there. It's just simply phenomenal, and I never, to this day, I don't like the fact that SID tunes, the music of the SID that people are still making to this day, is classified as chip tunes, and I don't like that fact because it's not a chip music, it is a synthesis. Chip music looks like this. It is cut, dry, strictly digital. Boop, boop. And like that. And strictly digital. Look at this. Boop, 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 boop. It's not even smooth wave. Now that might have been a sampling, or the oscillator, or the oscilloscope or something, I do not know. But that doesn't look nice to me. But compared with this beautiful, look at these beautiful curves. Absolutely beautiful curves. Look at that. So smooth, nice, more organic sound than the NES. Now after this, these FM chips, let's put a new layer on. Yep, okay, cool. Where OBS go? There it is. Le GIMP. So not long after the SID chip came out, Yamaha did their own. So let's do a feel for it. Back to white, please. Thank you. Boop. Thank you. Okay, so Yamaha came out with the 3812, YM3812 chip, and it had 9 voices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And all of these can do the same thing as the SID. It can do pulse, that's a horrible pulse, and like triangle, and sawtooth and stuff like that. Same as the SID chip, except a lot more channels. Now this later became the ad-lib card for PC, and the Sound Blaster is the same thing. It uses the exact same technology that is in the SID chip. However, like the NES before it, it is still digital. Whereas the SID chip, all these waveforms are still digital. Whereas the SID chip is neither. It's neither digital nor analog. It is both. Now let me explain that. So let's put another layer on and I'll explain what I mean. So foreground, background color. Okay. What I mean is, we have our chip, like here. So yeah. So we have our inputs here, and we say we want a part pitch, say a waveform. So we poke a certain memory, we can put like, say, I don't know, 48, 9 or something, and we put it in, and that is strictly a digital signal. So we're going boop, 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 boop. We're passing the binary into the chip. However, what we get out of this chip is an analog waveform. Because somewhere in here, so at the start, only the instrument inputs are digital. However, all your physical, all the filters, like your ring filter, so which changes, say, this pulse wave into the funky pulse wave, all this stuff is analog. But all your inputs are digital. See what I mean? So it's a hybrid chip. It's part digital. So you've got digital inputs, but you've got analog processors and outputs. Whereas with the other chips of this nature, like the NES and the YM3812, they're all strictly digital in, digital out. So they're all sampled the curves at the particular point. Whereas the SID chip doesn't. And to this day, they're still trying to figure out how it was done. A lot of people are still trying to figure out how it was done. And that is really cool. So this is a brief explanation of what the SID can do, what the SID chip is. So I'm going to bring myself back in for this. So this tiny, tiny little chip, this one little chip, right here, see if you can, that one, you see that? That's doing all those sounds. Whenever I'm playing my Commodore 64 games, that's what comes out of that little tiny chip. And that is really, really cool. And they're still trying to decipher how it was done. Because no one can actually make the chips anymore. Because no one knows how they were made. It's just, I don't know. So like devices like the SID station and stuff like that, you don't see any devices of like, can I have the Master System's sound chip or the Game Boy's sound chip? People just use the Game Boy. That's why all these 8-bit machines all sound differently, because they all treat sound differently. But me personally, I do not believe that SIDs are chip tunes. I just don't like that. I hate that because they are not. And this visualization proves that they are not digital waveforms. They are analog frequency modulations. It is actually a proper thing. And not to mention, they just sound better. So, like, SIDs have a very particular sound, and so does the NES and all this. People say, oh, the NES sounds just more... Personally, I think the NES sound more empty than anything else. I'd much rather, if I was going to pick between these things without the SID, I'd say the Master System. But once again, that's me, because I just like the Master System sound. They just seem to make better. But SID will always be the top dog. Well, anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. Sorry it's not very long. It's about 20 minutes or so. So, anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoy this little one. It's how do I explain this? It's not thorough by any stretch of the imagination. It's just explaining some basic things of the SID chip, explaining why it's so good, why it's so popular, because a lot of people do wonder why the SID chip is so popular, why people use it so much. The reason, because it just sounds better, it's far more fun to code for, it's just a nicer thing to work with, and the artist was simply fantastic. Anyway, with that, I'm going to leave you with one final SID tune. Well, tunes, actually. It's Rob Hubbard's final synth sample 1. This tune has very little filtering, very little upsy downsy stuff, and very little distortion. But it's still a lot of good, very good songs, very cool. I think it's actually 7 tunes in one, but they all tie together. It's really cool. And Rob Hubbard is the father of video game music. End of story. That's just it. Boom. Alright. But anyway, the SID masters are fantastic. And before anyone argues, saying, oh, but you're using music that was at the beginning of the SID, you were at the beginning of the life that got better at the end. Actually, no. The Robocop 3 is very much at the end of both the C64 and the NES's life. So everyone knows what's going on and all that. So that's it. And it's the only real tunes I can really compare, because when you compare a port of the NES and the N64, they're usually very different. This is the one I can only think of that is very different. They're very similar, so we can actually compare them. Anyway, I'll see you all out, and please enjoy these songs from Rob Hubbard. Bye-bye.